Hello, friends, colleagues. Lovely to be here, my first time in Oslo. Lovely to be in a theater. I'm a playwright as well as political activist, so it's especially endearing, especially pleasant to be here in this beautiful, beautiful space. I'll be very brief. I will just tell you a little bit of my background story, which I think is quite unique for somebody who is a Russian political activist. The fact is, I moved to England at the age of 12. We moved permanently. I moved with my family. My father signed a contract with an international organization. That was pretty much the tail end of the Soviet era. It wasn't easy to fit in, but I tried. I did my best. And while I was sort of adapting to new democratic ways of this new life, I still very much followed. I was still very much aware of what was going on in Russia. Russia being such an incredibly dynamic place politically, even though I was still pretty young at the time. How time flies. Towards the end of my sort of uni years, I started getting engaged a little bit more. I started researching a terrible event which you might have heard of, the Moscow theater siege, which resulted in 130 people gassed by their own government. And the more I was researching that, the more I was getting involved with some Russian political activists in Russia and abroad. You know, that was the first real step in the direction of my own personal political activism. But of course, more followed, as it often happens. More recently, I am involved, in fact, in lobbying the Magnitsky Act, which is, again, something you might have heard of because it's publicized quite significantly. It's a terrible story where a Russian lawyer died in custody because he was a whistleblower on a terrible corruption scandal within the government, within the Russian Ministry of Interior, where they pretty much stole $230 million. Since then, I guess because I gained trust of some people, I've been receiving some other information on high-up officials, and I've become a whistleblower very recently. I don't know if I like the word whistleblower, but for the lack of an alternative. On a case where Russian Deputy Prime Minister Igor Shirvalov took a bribe from the richest man in Russia called Alisher Usmanov. And right now I'm also trying to get other countries, because those guys, Alisher Usmanov, for instance, he's the resident of the UK. He doesn't live in Russia. He just robs Russia, and then he goes to spend money elsewhere, as many of them do, unfortunately. And we're trying to gain support of organizations such as FBI, SFO in Britain and America and other countries as well. Because I personally believe those people need to be held accountable, and I will do absolutely everything in my power to make sure that they are held accountable. In terms of the protests that started escalating just a few years back, living in New York already by that point, I organized an NGO, and we started organizing protests in support of the opposition, in support of the protests that were taking place in Russia. Because, you know, there were so many people that started getting involved in that, we organized NGO, and once again, our NGO, even as a small one, it takes care of, it sort of helps people with those who face, once again, one of the major issues in current Russia, that of the judicial system, which pretty much doesn't work at all. So it's a situation where if somebody wants to frame you, if somebody wants to send you to jail because they don't like you, because they want your business, because you're sleeping with their wife, they will do so. They will do so by just bribing the judge. And so we get a lot of those cases. We try and help as much as possible. And just few months ago, I made a very difficult decision for myself. I decided to move back to Russia during this very hard time, very important time, and on the ground do what I can, participate as much as I can in this protest movement. And that's exactly what I'm doing. Since I moved back to Moscow, I was detained on a number of occasions, which is never exactly pleasant, because those cells where they put you, they don't give you water. Very often they don't let you sit down. You know, it's not fun, but it's something you have to go through if you really are serious about this. This movement against Putin's Russia. I'm very much sleep deprived even now, because right before I came to this wonderful city, within the previous 48 hours, I was almost detained twice. First time was when we were trying to organize a continuation of a protest that some of the pictures that you saw of later that evening. And a group of us were detained. I was actually rescued by Wall Street Journal journalist because he started talking to me in English, and the police freaked out, and they just decided to leave me alone. My friends, however, were detained. Then the following day, literally, I was detained just for wearing this white ribbon that you see my friend Dennis wearing, and myself. Which is a symbol of this protest moving of the anti-Putin movement. I do believe that we have a strong opposition. It doesn't matter what the numbers are. I do believe that we have a great chance at bringing Russia to where it should be, to making it a democratic, friendly, and prosperous place. No matter how many arrests, no matter how many threats, we shall not yield. We shall not go quietly into the night. We will fight, and we will overcome. I thank you very much.